Hey everyone, this is Mario again, coming at you with another movie review. Today's review is of a movie that I just saw again today. I reviewed it a while ago and I decided I might as well do a new review for this channel. It is of course the 1985 action classic starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, directed by Mark Lester. Of course, I am talking about Commando. This is basically a textbook movie of how to do an action movie. It's basically an action movie that is just that. Basically an action movie. It has some tongue-in-cheek things to it, and it's a movie that really knows what it is and doesn't take itself seriously at all. Maybe a little bit, but it's mostly just a fun movie. It's basically the movie that you think of when you think of what type of movies Arnold normally is in. This is the type of movie you think of. I mean, some of his other movies that come to mind, like Total Recall and Predators, have a little bit more depth to them, especially Total Recall. But this is just basically the definition of a popcorn movie, I guess you can put it. It's kind of hard to explain it without giving away every little aspect of the movie, but that's the best I guess you could put it. It's a fun popcorn movie. Arnold's co-stars are Rae Dawn Chong, Dan Hedaya, Vernon Wells, a young Alyssa Milano, Bill Duke, the guy, one of his future Predator co-stars, David Patrick Kelly, and James Olson. The score is by James Horner, and this is actually around the same time he did the score for Aliens. I believe he did the score for this a little bit before that. And the score he did for this movie totally is an 80s score. If you listen to it, it just has that 80s vibe to it, which, if you think about it, fits an 80s action movie. And I really do want to get the score for this movie. And this movie actually did get some awards. It got nominated for the Saturn Award for Best Visual Effects. But ironically, it also lost to Aliens and the thing there. But you can't blame them for why they gave it to Aliens, because if it's going to lose to a movie, it loses to another classic. And this is actually one of the few action movies of the 80s that actually did get some critical praise. Right now it has a 69% on Rotten Tomatoes, and for an action movie that's just straight action, that's actually pretty good, because most movies that are just fun movies usually get like 30 to 40. So for it to get almost a 70 from the critics, that's pretty good, and I believe it has higher with the audience. I don't know. Anyway, the plot of this movie is that we get John Matrix, played by Arnold. He's a retired commando, as the title says, who he's living a peaceful life now with his daughter, who's played in this movie by Alyssa Milano. And I'm gonna roll down. His daughter's name is Cindy. They live in a house out in the middle of nowhere. It's a nice house. They have a nice life. Well, one day his former commanding officer, a General Kirby, played by James Olson, drops by and tells him that people are picking off his former team, and that's actually how the movie starts. We see a couple of them. Well, not that long after Kirby leaves, Matrix is attacked and his daughter is kidnapped, and it turns out the culprit is this man named Arias, who is a former dictator of the fictional Central American country of Valverde, which of course is also where part of Predator takes place, so another little connection there besides Arnold. And we find out that one of the members of the team actually is with this former dictator, and they actually have a mission for Arnold, that if he ever wants to see his daughter again, he will have to go kill the president of Valverde so Arias can resume control over the country. But as you can guess, Matrix is not going to handle that, so he has to escape, and then he has to find a way to get to where Arias and his guys are and get his daughter back. And he gets help, unwittingly at first, and then of course eventually it's of her own will from Jenny is Matrix's daughter. Sorry, I read the wrong one. Cindy is the one that helps him. Sorry, the only name I really kept in mind when I was watching the movie was Arnold's character and Bennett. Those are the only two I really remember. And of course, the one who the guy mentioned, of course, in one of my favorite lines in the movie, Sully, of course, played by David Patrick Kelly. You're a funny guy, Sully. That's why I'm going to kill you last. Remember, Sully, when I promised to kill you last? I lied. But that's basically all the plot I'm going to tell you. You can tell it's kind of a revenge story at points, and it just has a lot of action. There's action at many points in the movie, I mean, when he's tracking down each individual guy, there's action like Matrix's fight with Bill Duke's character Cook. That's a pretty good fight, and that's of course where we get another one of the good lines. Half of this green beret to kick your ass. I eat green berets for breakfast and now I'm very hungry. That's a good fight scene. And of course the last part of the last act of the movie is just Arnold going around an island, blowing the crap out of people. And yes, that's my phone. And that's one of the things you could tell that this film knows what it is, because Arnold, we never see him reload, and no bullets ever hit him. Well, except maybe one, but no bullets ever hit him. He basically has, to use a LARP term, plot protection, to use a LARP phrase. And when it comes to the people that Arnold comes in contact with during that part of the movie, plot is a bitch. So you can just imagine what those guys must be thinking. I hate plot. Why did plot have to protect Arnold? He's fucking Arnold. Plot always loved to protect him. Anyway, only exception. Yeah, I think yeah, even in the Terminator movie where he's the villain, plot protects him. Everything about it is kind of true. Like I said, tongue-in-cheek with the action stuff. The action scenes all shot beautifully. And I don't know how many action movies this director did, because I'm only familiar with a couple more. I'm only familiar off, just by name with a couple other movies. Firestarter, haven't seen it or read the book, but I want to. Showdown Little Tokyo, I've heard that I should watch that. The rest of these movies on his filmography I've never heard of. And this guy, is he even still alive? Because he hasn't directed a movie since '05. Yeah, he's still alive. So it makes me wonder why he hasn't directed anything. It'd be nice to see him do another action movie, but I guess you could say he's a pretty good action. He did a pretty good job as the director of this movie. Now, the acting is not the best, I will say that. But in a movie like this, do you really expect Arnold to be going to be or not to be? No, that's a different movie he does that in. Yeah, I know any Arnold movie, I gotta bring that up, but it's not bad acting, acting that you're like, oh my god, why am I watching this? But it's not, award-winning acting. But it's acting that fits this type of movie, and Arnold does a pretty good job in his role, and he has a lot of great one-liners to spout out, so it keeps you interested, especially for the fight sequences and action sequences, because that's basically the main highlight of this movie, is all the action sequences. Like I said, it's action all the way across. I mean, I don't really want to give away a lot of the stuff, because I actually want people to see this movie, and part of the reason is because Fox is remaking it. I'm like, Fox, why are you remaking it? This is one of your movies that actually was good from the age when you were good, or most of the movies you came out were good. Why not re-release it? I mean, Disney has re-released movies and they've made money. Just look at the re-releases of Beauty and the Beast and Lion King, and then now they're re-releasing Finding Nemo. I think that shows, since they made I think $100 million each on re-release, that re-releases work. And also, look how much money Titanic made when it was re-released in 3D. It made an additional $300 million. I think that shows that re-releases can work. I mean, you don't have to convert them to 3D, but I think it shows that re-releases work. So Fox re-released Commando instead of remaking it. I mean, I love Sam Worthington, but I don't think he would be right in this movie, especially since I hear they're trying to do it in a more serious tone. Didn't they do something like that similar called Taken? Isn't that technically the same story as Commando, only different setting? A guy who's a former government worker who kicks butt. His daughter's kidnapped. He has to go out, kick some butt, and rescue her. Isn't that the same idea? And trying to do this movie seriously, Commando, it could have been done seriously, but it wouldn't have been as fun, most likely, because the thing that makes this movie work is how over the top and how self-aware it is of it. Like, take for example one scene in the mall when Arnold's beating the crap out of all the mall cops and none of them can stop him, yet they have guns. And speaking of which, why the heck are there so many mall cops? As a Nostalgia Critic said when he reviewed this movie, is this the mall cop training center? Because that's what it seems like. It's kind of funny, if you think of it. Anyway, my rating for Commando is 5 out of 5. because I can't really think of anything wrong with it. Like I said, it's a movie that's self-aware, but not in a way that like breaks the fourth wall or anything. But it's a fun action movie, and if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend that you give it a watch.